Cool. Thanks. Thanks for being here. And yeah, like just to say, this is a small group since it's for our members only. So we'll have some opportunities to connect and share and interact. So feel free to use the chat. You don't have to turn your video on or unmute yourself, but know that that's always an option. So we can just get to know our Alma La Vida community. So today we'll be talking about vision boarding. And I know that vision boarding can be either people love it, they do it, they live by it, or they have no idea what it's about. And it can be this really mysterious and woo-woo thing. So my hope here is to debunk it a little bit and demystify it. So you can just be inspired in a different way to meet your goals and set a vision for your life. So to get started though, I want to take some time to get to know each other. So since everyone's a client here, I'd love for you to share whether it's on the chat or if you want to unmute yourself, who's your coach here at Alma La Vida? How long have you been a member? And what's your biggest accomplishment so far? What you're most proud of, or maybe something recent that you've been working on that you'd like to share. And you can just pop that in the chat or just unmute yourself. Okay, 1 year, relaunch your career. Amazing. So amazing. What's your career and did you do a switch or just a relaunch, Kimberly?
I was a product manager before and relaunched into the same role.
Nice. That's amazing. I know after 5 years, that can feel like a long time. So that's a huge accomplishment. Anyone else want to share? Hi, Liz. Sherry's your coach. Amazing. So you went from doing something full-time to just being multi-passionate and following all the things that you're interested in, it sounds like. Cool. Hi, Tara. And who's your coach? Oh, Tara. Cool. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, you can keep popping it in there. We'll read it. It's okay. You can't turn on the camera. So Christy, I see someone else who's working with Kate. So it's kind of cool. You get to know other clients that are working with your coach. I feel like that always feels really fun. And maybe your coach is here joining us. I think I just saw Betsy come into the meeting. There you are. Hi, Betsy. Cool. So I think this is just a really, especially that last question, though, what's your biggest accomplishment so far? I think I see one of my clients here. I ask my clients all the time, what is something you're celebrating? And what's something that you want to kind of call out this week? So I just always want to encourage to ask that question. It's really important. If sometimes it can feel like we're not making progress or it's not coming fast. So just always getting yourself in that mindset. And we'll be talking a lot about mindset today. So it's a great just thing to think about. So this is me. I'm Natalia. I'm a holistic life and career coach. And really what holistic means is I don't ever just focus on one thing, whether it's your life or your career, just laser focused. I like to look at everything and how it all plays into each other. And I always encourage my clients to take more like a zoomed out, holistic view of their life. As you all probably know, your career could be going great, but if your personal life or your social life is totally neglected, the career piece doesn't feel so great, and vice versa. So I really like to focus on everything. And so what we'll be doing today, so we had a little agenda. Really, we'll start off setting an intention just for the sake of thinking about creating your vision and making sure that we're being really intentional about the vision that we have for our lives and what we really want to focus on. I do vision boards every year. Some people do them every 6 months. So just know that this intention is temporary and it can just be really specific to what you're going through right now or what you're hoping to set into motion in this phase of your life. It doesn't have to be forever. We'll explore the science behind vision boards. So we'll be both some scientific phenomenons and ideas, but also how we can actually wrap our mindset around the science. So it doesn't have to be all woo-woo and energy. There is really something that works with our mindsets, and I'm going to share some different ideas. Then we'll learn a framework to help you create a purposeful vision board. I know it can be really overwhelming to just stare at a white piece of paper and say, what the heck do I put on this? So we'll go through an exercise that will help you think about this and reflect on this before you dive into the actual physical creation of your vision board. Then we'll talk about the ABCs of engaging with your vision board. The biggest thing is it's not just about creating a vision board, putting it in the back of your closet and never looking at it again. It's really about how do you engage and how do you activate the stuff that you put on there. And then I'll walk you through a short meditation just to support you with next steps and some mindset and some visualization before we dive into questions and send you off to the rest of your day. So let's set an intention. So this can be anything and it can be for you. You don't have to share with anyone, but I want you to write it down. So really just think about where you are in your life, what you're either struggling through, what you've just celebrated, and really the intention that you want to lead with as you're thinking about your vision for the next 6 months or a year. So for some people that might be adventure, trying something new. For some people, it might be slowing down or being present. For someone, it might be restarting or community. Just what do you want to kind of to be the frames, the frame that you look at this with? Like, what's the most important thing for you right now? You can just think of that. You can share it if you want, but if not, you can just write it down somewhere so you kind of know what's the guiding light, what's my compass as I'm going into this. Once you have that, we'll get into the science behind vision boards. So some of you may have heard, the law of attraction, or the saying that says energy flows where your attention goes. And the law of attraction I believe in it, and I always think about it. I always think about how if you're driving the car and you're really focused on not hitting the car in front of you and you focus so much on it, you usually end up doing it or swerving that way. So I kind of like to think about it that way. But some people just can't really get behind this. Of what does it mean? I don't understand the law of attraction. I don't get how it changes the way I think or anything like that. So I have a different piece of science and phenomenon that I like to pull from when I'm thinking about vision boards. And I don't know if this has happened to you before, but have you ever bought a new car or you wanted a new car, and then when you buy it, or which one you're going to buy, you see that car, that make and model everywhere all the time, and you're thinking, holy crap, how I wanted that Honda Civic and now all I see is Honda Civic. If you have, that's called the frequency illusion, or also known as Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, which is actually a cognitive bias that after you notice something for the first time, there's a tendency to notice it more often. So it leads you to believe that there's a higher frequency of this occurrence, but really what's happening is it was always there and it was happening just as frequently. But because it's been primed or introduced in your mind, you're noticing it all the time. So in science, this is used as it's a bias, right? Like something you have to watch out for. But I want to think about how do we use this frequency illusion to create a life we love and to use these vision boards to our benefit. So really is setting an intention, getting clear on your why of why this is important and why you want these things that you're going to put on your vision board, defining your focus, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit in the next exercise. Then you find the images, the words that inspire you or that kind of prime you to remind you of your why and your focus and your intention. And then you engage with these images and prime your brain to see and notice the opportunities that are aligned everywhere, right? So it's kind of like putting ourselves on purpose in this frequency bias or in this frequency illusion. So if we're really focused on getting certain things or creating a certain type of life, we're primed to see opportunities where that pops up that we can take action on. So that's how I would like you to think about what we're going to go through next is what sorts of things do you want to start noticing all the time? What sorts of things do you want to see more of in your life? So I'm going to introduce a helpful framework that I want you all to go through. We'll go through it together of how to set up your piece of paper. So if you do have a piece of paper that you're going to start your vision board in, you already have it with you, I want you to just split that paper into 4 boxes. So just a line down the middle on both directions. If you don't have that piece of paper yet, you can just do this in any piece of paper. Just make 4 squares and we'll go through this and I'll show you what goes in each of the squares. So a lot of the times when we think about vision boards, we think me, myself, and I, right? They are very self-centered. You ask, what do I want? What will make me happy? What things do I want to manifest in my life? So it's a lot of me. And that is a part of self-interest and is focusing on ourselves, but it's not everything. So what we want right now for ourselves in this moment isn't the only perspective that exists. And you probably know this a lot of times. You really, really want a whole pint of ice cream and then you eat it and future you is like, dang, maybe that wasn't the best decision for future me. So this is the framework I want to talk about is something that the Benta Society talks about and shares that self-interest actually includes more perspectives than just what we want right now. It includes our future selves, it includes our community and the people we care about, and it includes the future of that community, of our children, of our friends, and everyone else's children's, metaphorically speaking. So I want you to use that framework today as we reflect a little bit. So you'll see here that there's the 4 squares that I just asked you to draw. You have now me, future me, now us, and future us. So the way you're going to set up your vision board is breaking it up into 4 and thinking about what are the things that I want in each of these spaces, in each of these quadrants. Instead of just thinking, okay, what do I want right now? And what's most important, you're expanding, you're zooming out a little bit and thinking about what else is important, what's important for my community, for myself in the future, etc. So let's get a little bit more into what kinds of questions or what each of these spaces cares about. So the now me is what you want right now. It's our protector, right? It's usually responding to wanting us to feel safe, secure. We also want pleasure, autonomy, enjoyment. It's really thinking about immediate needs. Future me is, I think of it as that wrinkled version of you that made the right decisions, the ones that feel aligned. I think that question always of how do you want people to talk about you in your obituary? How are you remembered? it's that version. They're driven by purpose, grit, values, things that you earn over time. Then there's now us. So that's our families, neighbors, community members. Really what shapes the relationships in the now us is fairness, justice, community, tradition, belonging, and really thinking about who surrounds you, who you see every day, who you encounter, your relationships. And future us is the next generation. So the world after us. And it's more concerned with long-term implications. So awareness, knowledge, sustainability, the passing off. Even when you think about tradition, it's not about how you do tradition, it's how you pass that on. So we'll kind of think a little bit of what are the things that each of these parts of you, of your wholeness, which is all these 4 spaces, what do you want to focus on and what do you envision in your life for these things? So here's some reflection questions. So in those boxes, I'll ask a question for each one and just write out the answers. It can be bullet points, it can be full sentences, it can be images, if there's already images that are kind of coming into your brain, whatever feels best for you. So for now me, ask yourself, what are some things that I need to feel safe and secure? And why do I need these things? So how do they offer me safety and security? How do they offer me joy or pleasure? And just write out some of those things. And just know that now me really is the one that's constantly changing, right? So there's no right or wrong. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just whatever is coming up for you right now. I'll give you just one more minute to write. Okay. Now moving on to the next one. So thinking about future me. So this is that question of, what do I imagine, picture my ideal life or a life that's been successful by my own terms, right? So not really thinking about what society tells you is success, but for you, if you're looking back on your life, what have you done? Who have you spent your time with? Where are you? What's your environment? Maybe it's a place, a country, a type of house, the people you're with. Is it family? Is it friends? What are they like? What do you do? Just writing about those things. And it can be images that come up, sentences, names. So what does future me want? What do they look back at fondly? All right, so the next one's now us. So now us, you want to think about, how do I want to help my family, my friends, my community? What causes do I care about? This can be big or small, right? What do I want to get involved in? And really thinking about what's my what's my role that I can play within my community right now? And then again, just like now me, that can change. All of these really can change, but these are the ones that are a little bit more framed around where you're at, where you are in your life in this moment. So thinking about what kind of person do you want to be around your community? And what images, words, ideas come to mind when you think about that? Okay, and then the next one is future us. So future us is really zooming out, big picture. This is where you get to be selfless in the sense that you probably won't see the future us come to full fruition, right? But it's, what do you want your future children, if you have children, your friends' children, your nieces, the next generation that doesn't even exist yet, what do you want them to have? What do you want to see more of in the world? And then once you get that idea, then you can start to think about, how can I help to get there? And I think this one's so powerful because it's the opposite of instant gratification, right? It's knowing that you're working towards something, but knowing that you probably won't see it come to complete fruition, that you're just hoping to get a little bit closer. So again, thinking about the causes that you care about, the things that you can talk people's ears off about, and how they affect the future generations that are to come. You can keep writing these things as we go along. If things keep popping into your head, or you hear something from when we share, someone else, whatever, it's a never-ending process. So don't worry about having it all down and all perfect. So now we're gonna look through everything you've written, and I want you to see if there's a theme or a mantra or a focus that comes up for each of the quadrants. So looking at them separately, looking at your now me, future me, now us, future us. Are there words or themes or ideas that you see in each of your quadrants? And just write out what you see. And you can share these if you want, the themes or the mantra. So I'll share some examples. There's no right or wrong. There can be millions of these, billions, as many as there are of us. So, for now me, maybe a theme or a mantra is I'm present. If that's what you need right now, or self-love, if that's what you're looking for. Honesty, Betsy shared. So that could be just what makes you feel safe or secure? What's that theme or that word? And for future me, I live a life with intention. Also had financial security. What's important to you, to future me? Is it adventure? Is it family, connection? There's some themes you see there. And whether you share or not, just make sure you write them out in that box so it's there encompassing each space. For now, maybe it's a mantra on your role, right? I'm a giver, I contribute. Or maybe it's something like belonging, or maybe it's novelty. Maybe the community you're in now, you want something new and different that's more aligned to what you're looking for. So what themes do you see in now us for you? And then future us. So what's that mantra or that focus or that theme for you? Maybe it's that a reminder of small steps make a big difference. You know, if you think of these big things you might not see come to full fruition, what reminds you, what holds you, you know, doing the things, even if you can't see the end goal all the time? Or what's important? Maybe it's sustainability. Maybe it's justice. Maybe it's love. What themes do you see in what you're hoping to have? And feel free to share. These are examples that I've made up and examples that aligned with the ones I put down in mine. Or if you have questions or you're having a hard time coming up with themes, this is a space that you can share and ask questions. So feel free. Staying curious.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Speaking about like future us, something that I guess I battle with is like faith.
Mm-hmm.
What's a way to practice faith what's a way to practice faith, I guess? Like
faith in from a spiritual sense, or from like faith in other people or in the future?
And I guess thinking about this is like the future. I mean, those all are so tied together, right? And when I think about the future, I know, you know, and Patience and I are becoming friends. I just, how do you, this feels like all faith, like, how do you, what would you, I guess I don't really know how to clarify the question. I guess it's there's different logics to it too. That's the issue. But yeah, is this making sense?
Yeah, totally. And I have like we'll talk about more like the ABCs, but I really do think it's like having actually believing the vision that you have, right? Like there's definitely like wishful thinking versus believing that this could be possible. And I think it's figuring out what's that theme or that mantra that can help you ground to that belief that you have about future us when things seem really convoluted and maybe like, ooh, we're so far away from that, right? And it can feel really hard. Okay, what can I come back to? What is one small step that I can take that at least makes me feel like we're getting closer to that instead of getting further away, right? Is that a conversation I can have with someone I trust and I love? Is that a book I can read? Is it a thing I can go do or a cause I can go help that makes me feel like we're getting closer to that vision, even if I don't know exactly if we're going directly in that path. So what are for you those things that reestablish your faith, whether it's in humanity or whether it's in this dream that you have or this goal? What are those things that help you feel really connected to it?
And
And I think that's different for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. One more question. Sorry to kind of take over.
No, please.
I'm having issues digesting the difference between a small step and a big step because I might be, able to speak for others too. It's those small steps that we're trying to figure out. And what would be like a good definition between small steps and big steps? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think it's big and small is relative and it looks different to everyone, right? Like a small step for one person might be a huge step for another person. So I think it's really about deciding what is the idea, what's the ultimate goal and why, right? Because I think a lot of the time we get caught up in the outcome that we think is the goal, but it's actually just a manifestation of a certain feeling or a certain thing we want to achieve. And thinking about how can I break that down? I always go through a exercise with my clients that's coming up with like a top, middle, and bottom version of a certain goal. So that can be like, here's my goal, right? Whether that is eating well or volunteering or applying to jobs. And then I think about, okay, what does a step toward doing that look like when I'm feeling my best, when I'm feeling really great, really energized, and feeling good? What does a step towards that look like when I'm feeling all right, like nothing to write home about, but I'm feeling good? And then what does a step towards that look like when I'm super depleted at energy or I have so many other things on my plate? And I think that in a way break it down into smaller steps, because you'll notice that when you're feeling your top, you're probably doing bigger things. And when you're feeling at your lowest energy or you have a lot going on, those things are a little bit smaller. So I like that exercise to kind of help break into smaller steps.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Okay, so now that you have your themes, so whether it's on the page that you're going to use to create your vision board or just on like a draft piece of paper, let's get into more out of the existential thinking about what's on my vision board and more the tactical pieces. So how do you create your vision board? I'm a huge proponent of doing these physically, so on a poster board, printer paper, cardstock, because I think it's a different way that most of us don't engage with the world. We're usually on a computer typing things, scrolling through our phones. So getting really hands-on can be a really good way to connect with this and make it feel more real. So choose your canvas, gather images from magazines, your personal collection of pictures, books, online if you want to print them out. I put a tip in here. Local libraries are a great resource for this. Most local libraries have like a section that they sell magazines for $1. You can also go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes people give them out for free, because I know not many of us just collect magazines that we're willing to cut out. So I always like this. Then split your canvas into the 4 spaces that we went over. Look through your answers and reflections, and then search for images or words that relate to those themes, the mantras, the people you mentioned, just the answers that you've given. What are the images that come up? And then look for that. And then when you glue them, instead of gluing them anywhere, it's like some people do their vision boards, is glue them specifically to that quadrant, right? So you keep that organization and you keep that image of, it's not always just about now me, and maybe now me needs to be less focused because I'm really focusing on now us or future me, right? So keeping those separate, but also seeing how do they relate and how do they, speak to each other, and are any of them super contradicting, and noticing those things as you're building it. And if you do want to go digital, I highly recommend using something like Canva. They already have templates, really user friendly, but this is really about what you feel comfortable with. The point is not to get too caught up on the how or on the action of actually creating it, but more on the why and why you're trying to align with your vision rather on are you using Canva or a poster board or PowerPoint. It's really whatever comes easiest to you. So then you can focus on all the other things that are more important. Any questions on the more tactical pieces of creating a vision board? I also always think if you can't find an image, draw it, paint it, take a photo of it. The goal of this part of the exercise to have a visual for what we want. So really it's to take the answers that you just went through in that exercise and thinking about what are the images that bring this up, and going back to that frequency illusion is having, yes, a visual representation that you can prime your brain, that you can reflect on, that you can have as an inspiration as you're going through your day. And we'll get to that engaging with your vision board and how to do that in the next part. So yeah, just coming up with a visual representation of these themes, these mantras, these things that are important to you. So the next piece is bringing your vision board to life. So a lot of vision boarding gets a lot of slack because you think about, oh, you're just making, pretty pictures and then what? You're just waiting for things to happen. And obviously I'm a coach and we're coaches. So no, we don't, think that things are just going to happen without taking action. So I want to talk about the ways to engage with your vision board. And I call them the ABCs just because it makes them easier. So action, the number one way to bring your vision board to life. So the process of doing something. And just note that I'm not saying of doing everything or of doing something perfectly or even doing it well. That's not what this is about. It's about just the process of doing something. And so some tips around this is, like we just were talking about, breaking this vision down into the smaller goals or milestones. So if you have a huge goal of having a house in the Spanish countryside, but you don't live in Spain and you don't have any money saved up, what are smaller steps to get there? And if you were wondering, that is my biggest dream. So, I'm just putting it in here. What are the ways that you build closer to that? And an example for me is figuring out how to move to Spain, right? Can't have a house there if I don't live there. So what are those smaller steps? And maybe that is practicing my Spanish. That's an even smaller step so I can move there and be successful. So how is that smaller goal helping future me and now us, right? So like, how do they all play together, and breaking that into smaller milestones? Identifying, when you think about action, is identifying, sometimes action is stopping doing something, right? So if you want to get healthy and live a long, healthy life, and you smoke 2 packs of cigarette a day, what sort of action can you take to stop doing things, right? So really thinking about, what can I start to do? What do I want to stop doing? And what do I want to continue doing? So really taking a, what am I already doing really well that is really helping and align with these goals, and I want to continue doing it or do more of? And then just do the things. Even if they're not good, even if they're not perfect, even if you do it and you realize, nope, that really wasn't it. It wasn't what I was trying to get at. Just do them. And then reflect and keep doing other things and learn from there. So it's really an iterative process. It's not just a one and done, you figured it out type of action. And then we get into the B, the beliefs. So again, like we mentioned, there's 2 types of beliefs, right? One is the acceptance that something is true, And then the other is some trust or faith or confidence in someone or something. And I think this is a balance between both, right? A lot of the times we think we want something and we say we want something, but we don't actually believe that we deserve it or that we're worthy of it. So we do things or we show up to things in a way that sort of self-rejects, right? Without us even noticing, because we don't really believe that that's true. So it's thinking about, what limiting beliefs do you have? What sorts of things do you need to believe to make these things happen? And then how do you, or what type of trust or faith or confidence do you need to cultivate in yourself, in the world, in others to make these things happen? And I linked and I'll send this in our follow-up email, but I linked one of our modules, which is our limiting beliefs module, that I think is a really good exercise to go through to name and challenge any limiting beliefs as you're going through this exercise, so you can make room for the ones that support your dreams and your visions. It's linked here, and I'll send it in the follow-up, or you can find it through your dashboard as well, or ask your coach, but it's definitely there. And then thinking about, okay, now that I have this new belief and I've challenged my limiting ones and I know what I have to believe in, how do you embody them? So what are small ways that you can walk the walk of your beliefs? And I always think about, someone wanting to be an entrepreneur, but every time they get a chance to talk about their business, they don't, and they keep quiet, right? You believe it. You think, you know what, I'm worthy of having these beliefs that I want to be an entrepreneur, but you never embody that belief by saying, anytime I meet someone new, if they ask what I do, I'm going to say, I'm an entrepreneur, I own my business, right? Like, how do you really live out those beliefs? And what are tiny ways and what are big ways? And then the last one is consistency. And I found it really interesting that the definition of consistency isn't to do something every single day for the same amount of time and never giving up or stopping, which is what we usually think of consistency. And we beat ourselves up if we don't do it every single day with the same amount of intensity. But really what consistency means is an agreement or harmony of parts or features to one another or to a whole. So when you're thinking about your vision board, when you're thinking about the 4 spaces, what is the harmony? How do they agree? How do you show up every day in that harmony, in that consistency in your actions, in the way you speak about yourself, about others, about how you show up for yourself or for your community? So really focusing on that quality over quantity. So when you're thinking about his consistency, thinking about what's the why, what's that harmony I'm trying to achieve, and what's the thing that I can do that will be most aligned or have the biggest impact versus can I do it longer or more time or more often, right? And then I really like habit stacking, taking advantage of your existing habits to build new ones. This is from James Clear. I also will send this. It's a blog post about how to habit stack, but really it's taking stock of what are habits you already do, right? Brushing your teeth, putting your keys away when you come back from work, making coffee, and how do you stack new habits that you're trying to pick up with those, so you have just like a built-in primer or a built-in reminder of this new habit. Really, it's about how do you make this as easy as possible for you to adopt a new habit so it becomes a consistent thing in your life. And then allowing room for mistakes and facing them with self-compassion and patience. So again, a lot of the time when we talk about consistency, we think, if I don't do it every single day for the same amount of time, I failed and I might as well just give up. And this is really about how do you allow room for mistakes show up the way you would show up to a friend or someone you care about, which we should all be learning and working through how to care about ourselves the same way we care about other people in our lives. And how do you take this as a lesson or something that you can now kind of give back into your process now that you've learned and you've made a certain mistake or had a certain detour? Okay. Any questions? So I'm going to guide you through a little meditation. It's just a quick 5-minute meditation, so it won't be too long, but I want to see if there's any questions before we settle in about the ABCs, about any of the stuff we've talked about, and we'll have room for more questions afterwards. Okay, perfect. So I want to guide you through a little meditation so you can close your eyes, you can soften your gaze, whatever feels good. You can turn off your camera and just take a moment to get comfortable in your seats. Let all the air out of your lungs. Roll your shoulders back a few times or move your neck around. Notice if your legs are crossed or if you're hunched over. Just find a position that feels comfortable and relaxed. Now, again, you can close your eyes, soften your gaze so you can look down. And when you're ready, just start taking long, deep breaths in through your nose, filling up your chest and your belly, and out through your mouth. Notice if there's any parts of your body that feel really tense or tight. And send the breath there. So imagine the breath going to your shoulders, or your neck, or your hips. We'll start by taking 3 breaths together. So on your next exhale, let all your air out. Inhale through your nose. And exhale. And this is a really good moment to think about that intention you had set at the beginning. And as you inhale, make room, fill yourself up with that intention. And as you exhale, share it with the world. One more inhale together. And exhale. Now you can continue at your own pace. That might be more shallow or keep them the breath deep, whatever feels good. And I want you to imagine yourself moving forward into your day, creating a vision board that's based on your reflection today, and engaging with it from a place of groundedness. So most of the time when we set a goal for ourselves, we get laser focused on achieving that goal. We see nothing else but the goal. This time, though, it will be different. You now know that the goal is only a manifestation of your values, your desires, values and desires of our communities around us, and that the outcome can look different than we expected or we planned for, but it will feel the same if it's aligned. As you move forward into the reality that you will outline in your vision board, you feel rooted, you feel solid in your values, your gifts, your why. You move forward with intention and act from a place of self-trust, knowing that you have everything you need to create the life that you love. You move forward while staying present, noticing and being open to opportunities, coincidences, focusing on relationships and play and rest. You move forward with self-compassion, accepting any mistakes or detours as lessons and opportunities for growth. Your vision for life is so much more than me, me, me. It is made up of 4 spaces: now me, future me, now us, and future us. Each space supports the other as you tend to the garden that is your life. Once you have this vision, you offer it sun, water, nutrients. You show up every day in big and small ways, guided by love. So I want you to take that vision and notice what it feels like in your body to show up this way. To be present while you move towards your goals and your future. To feel grounded in yourself and feel a sense of belonging and purpose in your community. What does it feel like? And that feels different to everyone. So just tap in and think about where in your body you're feeling it and what you're feeling. Once you have that, capture this feeling right now. Notice where you feel it, or if there's an image that's coming up for you. And know that you can come back to this whenever you need. If you're feeling down, stressed, anxious, those days that you feel like you're just going through the motions, sit back, take a couple of deep breaths, and come back to this feeling. You have everything you need right here. So we'll start to bring the breath back into your body, taking deeper and longer breaths. You can move your neck in a circle, or wiggle your fingers and your toes. Roll your shoulders back a few times. And let's take 3 deep breaths all together. Inhaling through our nose and exhaling through your mouth. If you can and you're feeling bold, you can do a nice audible exhale. And again, take that image, that vision, that intention, that feeling of groundedness. Inhale it, let it fill you up, then exhale it into the world. Now you can slowly open your eyes and take this with you as you move forward. And I can share this meditation. Just tap back to that feeling whenever you're feeling like you're going too fast or you forgot why you were doing this in the first place. Thank you all so much for your time, for being here, for your questions. And if there's any other questions, please, you can unmute yourself. You can go in the chat. That's all I have for you on my end.
Thank you so much, Natalia, for your time today. If anyone does want to get in contact, I'm going to drop both my and Natalia's emails. So if you wanted to shoot that over, we'd be more than happy to jump in. Consider Natalia for some celebrity sessions. Take this back to your coach and have a conversation. I'm sure she'd be more than willing to make some time for anyone in this room. But again, we'd like to say thank you for everyone for joining in this today on the Monday. We're going to start doing a lot more of these member-only events, so just be on the lookout for those. It's a nice, more intimate group where we can, just provide more value for everything. So at the end of the day, we appreciate you guys all for being here with us. And on that note, everyone have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you. And if you're doing your vision board and have questions, really do email me. I will answer. I'm serious when I say that. So, and send me pictures of it. I'd love to see them.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yes,
we are sharing the recording, right? Yes, we'll be sending it
Yes.
out to the members. It'll be an unlisted video on YouTube, but it'll be there, and I'll link out just like our other webinars.
Awesome.
Thank
Well, thank
you.
you so much, everyone.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye. And I'll stick around if anyone has questions, but feel free to log off. Cool. Bye, everybody.